It's Monday, May 26th, 2025, and this is episode 336 of You Can Bet On That. Hi, everybody. Welcome to You Can Bet On That, a podcast for the recreational gambler. I'm Mark Duvall.
And I'm Dr. Mike.
Dr. Mike, how are things going?
Things are going well. Last week of school coming up.
Oh, very good. Oh, exciting.
For me, anyway. Yeah.
Any good gambling stories?
No, nothing to report. Just been busy with finals and stuff. No real good gambling stories. Although I do have a good story at the end about the kind of finals that I gave this year.
Okay. All right. We'll save that till the end. I was telling you I had a bit of a rough night last night at Hamul, but my previous two sessions were very good.
Yes.
So I was looking at my gambling for the year. For gambling, I'm actually down a little bit, but I'm ahead money-wise because of free play and, they give away some cash at Hamul. So I'm still up for the year, just technically down for gambling. And again, I don't count poker as gambling. I'm up for poker. So there you go.
Yeah, I think I'd count poker as gambling. You are risking money.
Yeah, but it's a calculated risk, Mike. It's positive EV for the old Markster.
One of these years, Mark.
Oh, I know. I came close a few years ago. It's like, am I going to be able to pull it out?
You're going to have a rough year.
Well, Dr. Mike, the dates for the Black Hawk trip have changed.
Yes, I noticed that.
So the dates now are September 11th through the 14th. The 11th is a Thursday. Thomas and Melissa sent out a notice. They had some conflict, so they moved it up a week. So again, Black Hawk is now September 11th through the 14th. Hope to see you there, Dr. Mike. I assume you're going to be there. We're definitely going to be there.
Yeah, I definitely want to be there.
Yeah.
The 15th is Lynn's birthday.
No problem, because, you guys can leave early.
Yeah, that's the thing. We're going to have to leave early. Her mom will probably want to do something on that Sunday, so we'll probably have to leave like Saturday.
Yeah, leave Saturday.
So, yeah, we're still planning on it.
All right, good.
Yep.
We'll remind people coming up, too, because on a previous episode, we talked about the original dates. But, again, September 11th through the 14th.
Yeah, all summer long. We'll remind them every podcast.
Okay, sounds good. Hey, we got an email from listener Jordan. He said, I was wondering what your take is on the state of craps today, with all the craps podcasts seemingly straying from the path. I was excited to see the 7 Out guys release an episode, only to hear that Vinny says he doesn't really play craps as much when he goes to the casino. Crap Vegas jokes that they are now Slot Vegas, even officially getting hosted offers, coding them as slot players rather than table games. So what's going on? Is craps just a young man's game now? Or is the dice culture on a bit of a downturn? I don't think the culture overall has really changed at all. I just think some people, what they enjoy at the casino has changed. And that's not unusual.
No, they'll be back.
I think you and I, Dr. Mike, we're wired in such a way that we just could not give up craps. That I couldn't see myself straying that much from craps.
No.
We just enjoy too much.
I enjoy every once in a while playing some slots. But if there's a craps table there, I'd much rather play craps.
Yeah, I think this is just a case of a small sample set, mainly the podcast community here, saying that they're not playing craps as much as they used to. Not just the examples that Jordan gave even. Tim Lawson, Eric Rosenthal. I don't think Eric plays craps at all anymore.
I understand that craps is one of those games where you can have a lot of money out on the table. Even if you're betting small, it's still probably more than pushing that slot machine.
Yeah, depending on how much you're paying each spin. But yeah.
So, yeah. But, people can go sit at a slot machine, play 88 cents a spin and let it go through all of its stuff and take a long time and kind of bide their money, which is okay if that's enjoyable to you. I just like to feel like I have more control at a craps table.
Okay.
Even though
you
I
don't really, yeah.
it does feel like it, right? It
Yeah,
feels
sure.
like, oh,
No, it
yeah.
does. It does feel like it. But yeah, to your point about having so much money out there, that's why we could never really get Paul to play much craps with us,
No,
right?
no.
Every once in a while he would, but it was because that 7 would wipe out so much money that,
Right.
yeah, he just didn't enjoy it.
No, and it's funny because he'll go play blackjack for $25 a hand and lose like 6 hands in a row. And he's okay with that because it's like, well, I lost 25 at a time.
Yeah, and sometimes he'll even press up his bets till suddenly
Yeah.
he's betting 100 a hand, right? So,
Right.
but it's
But
a different feeling for him, yeah.
It's a different feeling because what he didn't like about craps is he'd have like 3 or 4 numbers and then 7's like, oh my gosh, I lost, he doesn't take into consideration that he, was sitting there for 15 rolls or, whatever.
Well, it's different too
So
because
it's a mindset.
with craps, when you've got a lot of money on the table, say a single roll of the dice wins for you. You had money on the
Yeah.
6. You're getting some money back, but it's small compared to how much you're risking overall.
Right.
Whereas with blackjack, you put a bet out there, that's what you're risking on this hand.
Yeah.
Win or lose, right? So,
Right.
yeah. Anyway, getting back to Jordan's question, at least my feeling is that no, the culture really hasn't changed, even though maybe the preferences of people here in our podcast community have changed.
Yeah.
Well, we also got an email from our buddy Robin Aubin. He said, when I hear talk about staying downtown, I rarely hear about Main Street Station. When I visited Vegas more when I was younger, I always stayed at Main Street Station and was treated very well. With a video poker bar with good pay tables serving craft beer, full pay video poker throughout, which I don't think they have anymore, but anyway.
Right.
Good craps rules and odds and cheap rooms. I always stayed there. Did things change? I know the Boyd Rewards Club made changes that were good for locals, but not for travelers. Wonder what your listeners think. Yeah, I mean, we don't talk about staying at Main Street Station because we never have. I know there are people, I want to say Tony Snyder has stayed there many times and really likes it. So I know some people are staying there. Now, if you recall, Main Street Station was closed extra long during COVID. They didn't open right away. In fact, there was even some speculation that they would never reopen. And finally they did. So that might have something to do with it, that, people weren't staying there during that period. Again, we've never stayed there. I don't know what it's like. Mike, I don't know if you remember this. This is kind of unfortunate. One of the first times we played at Main Street Station, this was when you were always making hard weight bets. Always.
Yeah.
Right? As soon as a point was established, you had money out there, you'd parlay it, that kind of thing. And somehow your hard 8 disappeared. It didn't seem like it was a case where an easy 8 was rolled and you forgot to replace it. It just suddenly wasn't there anymore.
I'm trying. I
don't know why this affected me more than it affected you, but you said, hey, where's my hard 8? And the boxman just wouldn't have any. Oh, you didn't have one. Oh, no, you didn't have one. Well, I always have one. And he wouldn't even look at you, would not respond at all like, oh, give him his, a nickel. He was just really a jerk about it. And it really left a bad taste in my mouth and it stuck with me. Now, we've talked about how one bad experience, you can't judge a place on that.
Right.
And that really is the only bad experience we've had there. And of course, I'm going to continue to go back there. It's not like my Golden Nugget experience. But, that is always in the back of my mind. Anyway, back to what Robin was saying. Yeah, it is true. They've got really good craps rules. And, we've had some good sessions there. And I kind of like the motif, of it, all the lights and everything. And when you come across the street from the Cal, it's over that walkway. And so this staircase that you walk down to get into the casino. It's kind of neat.
Uh-huh.
Anyway, Robin, I think people still are championing Main Street Station. We probably don't talk about it much because we haven't spent much time there and we've never stayed there before. But, talking about Boyd properties, I mean, shoot, I have a great rating with Boyd. You've got an incredible rating with Boyd because you go to Diamond Joe Worth. So even though we've never said, oh, we'll stay there, maybe if we do end up staying downtown sometime in the future, that'd be a place we check out.
Yeah, because it'd be comped and probably a nice place to stay.
Yeah.
I think a lot of it is, Boyd doesn't have any properties on the Strip.
Yeah, that's the thing is we pretty much now are Strip people when it comes to our hotel rooms.
Yeah.
We usually end up downtown at some point on our trips. But staying there,
and there
it's
was
usually
a
the
time
Strip.
when we stayed downtown a lot.
Oh, exclusively. We'd always do it. Gosh, how many times did we stay at Four Queens? Yeah.
Golden Nugget.
Yeah.
Yeah, those were our regular hangouts. Four Queens, Golden Nugget, and occasionally here and there a different place. But we were going real regularly then.
Yeah.
And it was cheaper downtown.
Well,
so
Mike,
that has something to do with it.
There was that period where Southwest Airlines, there was a travel agent here who had mini junkets where they'd give you the airfare for free, basically, and you had to play like 4 hours at a blackjack table to qualify for the airfare at Four Queens. And they had another one where if you stayed over, they gave you a free room, then you had to play 8 hours, like during your entire stay. So we did that a lot.
Yeah, and that was a great deal for us because we were going to play anyway.
Right? Yeah.
I mean, I know their intent is to get people who might not stay, but we were going to stay anyway.
Yeah. But listeners, let us know what you think about Main Street Station, especially if you've stayed there. Because, we don't know much about the rooms, and I don't know if they've been renovated recently or what's been done after COVID, but let us know.
Yeah, things could have changed, or got worse, playing down.
Yeah, sure.
Whatever.
Yeah, let us know. Yeah. Hey, thanks to everyone who's been clicking through our Amazon link. Remember, whenever you're going to buy something through Amazon, please go to our page first. You can betonThat.com and click through our Amazon link towards the top of the page. All right, let's move on to our voicemails. First up is Brian.
Hey, Mark and Dr. Mike. I was in Vegas recently, and nothing too crazy happened, but I thought this funny thing that happened at the blackjack table was interesting. I was just playing $5 blackjack at the South Point, and the guy sits down to my left with a $20 bill, and he bought it, and he's playing. And a couple hands in, he hits a blackjack, and they pay 3-2 there, so he's getting paid $7.50. And the dealer goes, and he makes the change, and he gets out a red chip and 2 white chips, and he goes to grab a silver. And when he goes to grab the silver, instead of getting a coin, he grabs one of the clear plastic lammers that usually separate chips and whatnot. And he just put it on top of the money and pushed it to the guy next to me. And I kind of pointed at it so the guy would notice. And he just pointed back to me as if maybe he thought I was saying, hey, congratulations for getting a blackjack. And didn't say anything. The rest of the time I was sitting there, he never bet it, never looked down, pushed it back in. I eventually busted out and left the table, but it was kind of interesting to see what would happen when he went to color up or try to make a bet and push that clear lammer into the betting circle to see what would happen there. But anyway, I thought that was funny. Enjoy the show, guys, and take care.
I'm laughing because how did he not notice the difference?
How did the dealer and the player not notice the difference?
Yeah, I mean, there's a weight difference. It looks different. I mean,
here's what I'm thinking, Dr.
That's a weird
Mike.
thing.
You know how on old merry-go-rounds, they'd have those rings that you'd take out. You'd go around and on the outside, especially like the one here in San Diego, and you'd grab a ring, right? They'd have these rings
that you're spinning.
And if you got the brass ring, you got a free ride after that. It was a bunch of iron rings, and then there was 1 or 2 brass rings in there. If you got one of the brass rings, you get a free ticket. I think that's what happened here. It's just that every time you get paid, it's either a 50-cent piece, which is most of the time, or it's the special clear lammer, that they use to separate chips. And if you get that, you can turn it in for a free blackjack hand.
Oh, a free blackjack hand.
Free blackjack hand, yeah.
What's the maximum bet on that?
Oh, there's no maximum, Mike, because I don't think this is real.
Yeah, okay. Well, I'm going to go with it's real.
Okay.
I mean, that's a good thing for our casino.
Yeah.
Just like once every month, somebody gets a lammer, which they get 1 mulligan. How about that? 1 mulligan.
1 mulligan. Okay, let's do that. In our casino, amongst all the 50-cent pieces, there's going to be like a slug or something, right?
Right.
And if you get the slug, you get a mulligan. The next time you would have lost a hand, it's just a push. But you have to bet the same amount that you did when you got the slug.
Exactly. The same amount when you got the slug.
Yeah. And then we end up losing a ton of money because people see that the slug is the next one to come out. So they bet the most.
Well, no. See, we have to make it look so it's not real discernible that
I
it's a
know.
slug.
Yep.
See, what we do is instead of, a 50 cents piece with Kennedy's picture on it, it looks like a 50 cents piece, but when you look at it real close,
Yeah.
it's got Tony Gwynn's picture, or maybe we go with, Eric Rosenthal.
It's got Eric's picture on it. Yeah, that's right. We're lucky in San Diego. We've got this old carousel with these rings, right?
Most people probably don't even know.
I know. It's really a throwback. But you know what? Also, when the brass ring comes out, when it's the next one to be taken, they ring a bell, right? So maybe we do that too at the blackjack table. We ring a bell.
They have to bet weird amounts of money so they get a 50
I guess
cent
it makes
piece.
more sense to ring the bell after they've gotten the Eric Rosenthal 50-cent piece. So, all right. Just thinking.
We're going to lose money on having 50-cent pieces printed up with Eric's picture on them.
That's going to be the biggest
cost
expense.
A fortune.
Yeah.
And then the royalties that have to get paid to Eric?
To Eric? Yeah. We didn't think this through.
No. We better come up with somebody who won't charge us royalties.
Paul, I think he'd be good about
Paul.
it, don't you,
He
Paul?
wouldn't even know. We won't even tell him. It's just Paul. How about a picture of Warren?
Oh, my gosh.
Warren.
This is so off the rails. I don't know if anybody's going to appreciate this, but when we played poker, we would play with Paul's uncle and father, who were both characters in their own way. And Paul owned a printing company. So one day he printed up these T-shirts that said "Break the Bank," and it had a picture of his dad and Uncle Ike on it. And the pictures were hilarious. And so we would wear this "Break the Bank" and the pictures of them. Oh my gosh, that was fun.
You're having good when you have a T-shirt with one of your relatives' faces on it.
Yep.
That's living life large, Mark.
Yeah. All right. We're losing people here. Let's move on. Speaking of uncles, let's hear from Uncle G.
Hey, guys. This is Uncle G calling in from Massachusetts. My last call was the beginning of what turned out to be a 9-day trip. And Dr. Mike's reaction to a trip that long was refocusing on bankroll. I believe he said he would need $1 million a day to stay in Vegas that long. But as seasoned gamblers, there's other considerations to consider on trips that long. Bankroll, obviously, is probably your number one consideration. Other considerations include diet. What are you going to eat? You can't eat junk food for 9 days. Clothing, how do you pack? I mentioned a couple of years ago in a call that I have what I call walk-off clothes. So the clothes that are at the end of their life, I bring them with me to Vegas. I wear them once or twice, and I discard them there. Then as the trip progresses, if necessary, I go to Target or wherever, and I buy new clothes, shorts, underwear, socks, shirts, whatever. But I'm sure not going to pay a casino $7 to launder a pair of socks that's got a couple holes in it. So the other thing to consider is the sleep cycle. What kind of sleep cycle are you going to fall into after that many days? Then another consideration you guys didn't mention is how do you reintegrate to your normal life after having been in Vegas for 9 days or so? So these are some questions to think about. I'd be interested to hear some of the other listeners to say how long have they gone on a trip like that. My longest trip from 2024 was 14 days, which I can tell you is a couple days too long. It takes a long time to recover from that. So let's hear from you guys and hear from some other listeners. How long have you been there? How many nights is a long trip for you? And how do you reintegrate back into the rest of your life? Thank you.
I love that 14 days was a couple of days too long. So 12 would be fine. 14, that's
Dr. Mike, you and I, maybe 4 nights, I think maybe we've stayed there once for 4 nights, but 3 nights is usually it. And I'll tell you, after 3 nights, I'm ready to come home. I don't know about you, but it's like,
I'll go over the list here, Mark.
All right.
Being older, I can't take enough underwear and pants to last more than 4 nights.
Right. There's no room in the suitcase is what you're saying.
Right.
Because you need more than one set a day.
Yeah, you're going to use more than one set a day. That's just the way it is when you're gambling and old. And then, when you're talking about diet, did my diet get any worse?
Yeah, I was going to say, he said, oh, you can't eat junk food every day. Yeah, really?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Maybe not junk food, but I could eat fast food every day.
Yeah, that's 14 days I could eat. I could go to McDonald's 14
Yeah, if you consider that junk food, then okay. When I think of junk food, I think just chips and candy and soda and everything.
Right.
But yeah, fast food I could do.
Yeah, fast food or a quick sandwich somewhere.
Yeah.
I mean, my dietary needs would be sufficed with that.
You're okay.
So the clothes is an issue. The money is definitely an issue.
Yeah.
As far as sleep cycle, well, you're in Vegas, so I'm assuming, 4 hours a day is enough.
All right.
I mean, I can't believe people sleep more than 4 hours a day in Vegas.
All right. Yeah. But see, he's saying that's the issue. How do you deal with that, right? After you're on your 14th day and you're only sleeping for 4 hours a day, how are you going to be doing?
Well, I always used to tell Paul, and I think you too, that, it's okay if you're tired. Just when you go back home, just get, your normal 8 hours. Don't oversleep. And you're right back in your cycle.
That works for you.
Now, I didn't say it works. It's what I told you guys. Okay. You still have a couple of rough days when you get back. But honestly, I think a lot of people, you get home, you're so tired, and then they want to sleep like 12 hours or the best thing to do is just get your normal sleep. And then you're kind of right back in your circadian rhythms.
Like I said, the most we've probably done is 4 nights. So if you're talking about reintegration, yeah, the first day back is probably rough because you're really tired. Right? You're not in Vegas. But it doesn't take me that long afterwards. Now, again, this is why it's a good question for the listeners. What if you've been there for 10 days or more, something like that? How do you deal with reintegration, especially for those people who are coming from different time zones? We live in the Pacific. Well, I do anyway now. Live in the Pacific time zone, so there's no jet lag or anything that I need to deal with. But other people going back to the East Coast or something like that, or even to Europe, how is that getting?
Right.
Yeah, I'd be curious. And plus, people who are coming from another country, they're probably going to stay longer in Vegas. So, people, let us know if you've had these long and how you deal with Vegas. Like if you and I went to Vegas, Mike, we're gambling the whole time, especially if it's just the two of us. We're not doing anything else. We're not doing the touristy things. We're just gambling. So I think people who go on these extended trips, they're not just gambling the whole time. They're usually there with other people, a spouse, something like that, and they're doing other activities. For you and me, it'd be gamble, and that's why we get burned out so quickly. So
Right. Yeah, if you're doing other things and, people go and do something and they come back and they take a nap in the room for a while, you wouldn't get that burnout or go to bed at a decent time. Maybe stay up late on the weekend.
Yeah.
And during the week, go to bed at, 10 o'clock or your normal time. But that's not us. That's
not us. Let us know. Let's move on to the next call.
Hey, Mark and Dr. Mike. This is Mark from Michigan. Just want to give you a quick trip report on our visit to Las Vegas 2 weeks ago. This is our 47th trip over the last 30 years, so we get there at least once a year. We're probably different from most of your other listeners because we typically take a budget approach. This time we stayed at the Carriage House, which is only 12 minutes walking off the strip behind Planet Hollywood. Nice, clean place, free parking, no resort fees, and the nightly room was only $100. So it's a good, clean room just off the strip. We typically budget about $1,500 bankroll for all our gambling. So we're not big players, but we're there to have a lot of fun, buy some entertainment. We play only 3-2 blackjack, 3 card poker, and we play some craps, just a pass line bet, double odds, and I'll place the 6 and the 8. So it's nothing big, but we have a lot of fun, take advantage of all the free meals, which we get quite a few of, even at these low levels. We take advantage of all the free drinks, and we're pretty generous tippers to both the dealers and the cocktail waitresses. And that might be why we get some reasonable comps even at these low playing levels. We also take advantage of all the coupons from the Las Vegas Advisor and the American Casino Guidebook.com. We typically only play $5, $10, or $15 tables. We get a lot of low-limit blackjack at Treasure Island, Palms, Ellis Island, South Point. We also go downtown, play at the Plaza, the D, the El Cortez, and the Grand. And we also go to the Suncoast and Rampart. I'll always hit a Cirque du Soleil show We take advantage of the reasonably priced shows and the Miracle Mile shops behind Planet Hollywood. So our strategy is not for everybody. It's typically a budget approach. But if a person's interested in a low-limit gambling vacation, have a lot of free drinks, you can still have an economical vacation in Las Vegas. You just have to look a little bit harder. We do go to all the bigger places when we can. Fontainebleau, Resorts World, Wynn, Encore, Caesars, Venetian. But we typically gamble at the budget-friendly places. So thanks for a great podcast, and stop by the Northern Michigan Native American casinos. They're all great. You have a great podcast. Thanks again. Bye.
All right. Thanks, Mark. That's some great advice for a budget Vegas trip.
Yes.
You get a reasonably priced room. You don't have to deal with sort of the madness of the Strip when it comes to getting in a car or, when you're
just
staying
getting around.
Yeah. And taking advantage of, the coupons you can. Yeah, that's great.
There's a way to do everything that fits you. So in other words, if you want a low budget vacation, you can do that. You want to go wild and have $1,000 bottle of champagne, you can do that too. And everything in between, right? You might have to look harder for something.
See, that's the thing. I think it sounds like Mark and his wife really enjoy trying to take advantage of these things as much as they can. So a part of their enjoyment of the vacation is seeking out this stuff. Right. Somebody else might, I don't want to deal with finding stuff. I just want to relax, or I don't care if I'm spending, $20 for a coffee. I'm not worried about it. I'm here to just, but other people, and I'm a little bit like this too, it's not just a relaxing vacation. You want to actively participate in getting a good deal, that kind of thing.
Getting a good deal. Yeah, it's variation. Yeah. Variation's the secret to life.
All right, next call.
Mark and Dr. Mike, this is Dylan from Houston. I actually ordered some of y'all's merch a couple days ago. Got 2 shirts and a hat coming my way. I heard y'all say 50% off. Went on there, saw those prices, and realized I'm losing money not doing it.
Yeah, that's right.
So what I'm calling today is to talk to y'all about scratch tickets. Once in a blue moon, I'll go ahead and throw maybe $10, $20 at some scratch tickets. When I lived in California, I noticed that they don't display the break-even odds on the display tickets when you're shopping around for tickets like they do in Texas. So in Texas, on the bottom left corner, they'll have the break-even odds. Those odds obviously vary. Just for example, they could be anywhere from 2.49 all the way to 6.20. And obviously, I always try to look for the best break-even odds whenever I'm buying tickets. And I also try to look for the second chance prize, if any of them come with that, because I know a lot of people don't enter into that. And even though my odds are still real horrible, I feel like they're at least a little better following these little rules. And I don't really focus on the grand prize odds that much, because who really cares if it's 1 in 2.5 million versus 1 in 3 million? It really doesn't matter at that point. But one interesting thing that a lot of people don't think about, I'll always check online to see how many grand prize tickets have been claimed, because in Texas, and I don't know about other states, but in Texas, they're still allowed to continue selling lottery tickets even when all of the grand prizes have been claimed. So I always go online, and ideally, I look for tickets that have 0 grand prizes claimed. I'll accept 1 or 2, but as soon as we start getting into the 5 levels, because normally whenever you're looking at the number of actual grand prize tickets, it's normally in between 5 to maybe 8. So, yeah, that's basically it. I don't know if y'all have talked about scratchers lately. I'll say the last thing, to really get my money's worth, I love to scratch off the numbers, not the prizes, but just the numbers to see if any of them match. And if I get 2 matching numbers, I wait to scratch off the prize so I can sort of build up the anticipation. And I'll go ahead and I'll get on Zillow and I'll just start looking at houses and stuff. You know what I mean? You really want to get your money's worth? That's how you scratch off them scratch tickets. Anyways, guys, that's all I got for y'all. Thanks for the show, as always. Hope y'all are doing well.
Yeah, good strategy. I like that.
I love
Yeah,
his strategy. Yeah. I do the same thing. I kind of wait. It's like looking at the corner of your Paigal hand,
right, yes.
just to see one card there.
Yep.
Give me that last card.
Yeah, we don't talk about the lottery scratch-offs or otherwise very much because I certainly don't play it much, if at all. Mike, you do sometimes, but
Yeah.
we can't really talk about its strategy or anything. It's got a huge house edge, and you just have to get lucky. But
I'm one of those people that if I'm in the mood and I see that there's a bunch in front of me, for some reason I'll just buy them. Other times doesn't even affect me. How they display them right on the counter.
yeah.
Sometimes it's just I can't resist. I got to get some. Now my daughter and her friends, they love to buy them, and they pull their money together.
Yeah.
So they'll put in $20 and they'll go buy some, and then they'll scratch them for fun. And hopefully, if they win, they split the winnings or whatever.
Yeah.
They're kind of fun, but
sure.
I don't invest too much time in it. It sounds like he's doing it right, looking to see if there's.
It's true. If you're going to play scratchers, go online to your state's lottery webpage because they do post the current status of their scratchers. You can look and you can see, okay, how many grand prizes are left? How many second place prizes? You can see everything there if you're curious about it. And take advantage of the second chance option if it's available because most players don't.
And that's another thing. I have to admit, I look at that every time and think, I should do this.
Yeah.
And then I never do. It's just like, but I bet you 90% of people buy scratchers don't do second chance option.
The second chance, it's still the odds are long. Again, we're gambling for enjoyment, and that's another way to enjoy it. Take advantage of something where, you get a little extra opportunity.
I know my dad liked to buy scratchers every once in a while.
My grandfather, yeah.
Yeah, and some of that, I think, it's the Charlie Bucket theory.
Talking about real slowly, bend back that wrapper.
Bend back that wrapper, just take a look, hope that something's there. That moment of intrigue.
Yeah.
And, most of the time you're going to be disappointed, but the time you're not disappointed, you're pretty happy.
There you go. Do you think that, Mike, even though we talk about craps a lot, this gets back to Jordan's email. Do you think eventually we will become like a lottery podcast? We're lottery. This is the beginning of it. You're talking to me about scratchers and Charlie Bucket. Now I'm starting to think, ooh, the lottery. And pretty soon I'm not playing craps at all. I'm just down at 7-Eleven.
Yeah, that's probably going to happen. It couldn't happen to me, Mark, because I have a dickens of a time trying to pick which one I want.
Oh,
I'm attracted to the one that has hearts on it. I'm attracted to the one that has dollar signs on it. It's just nerve-wracking.
Yeah. All right.
I start sweating. There's a long line of people behind me. The cashiers, come on, pick one. Yeah. So for me, it's probably not gonna.
All right.
It's not going to be a problem.
Maybe it won't be a problem for me either.
You might decide quicker. You might, because you'll have it down. You'll know which one exactly is the one you want.
That's true. I think I've already decided actually. Dylan in his email also said that he's very happy about the 7 Out podcast returning. So, of course, we all are.
Didn't he say something, too, about how long they would be around?
Oh, I don't know if it was Dylan, but there was an over-under. It might have been on X, formerly Twitter. Somebody saying, what's the over-under on the number of episodes that 7 Out puts out before they quit again? So, Vinny, Big Joe, I hope you're listening. It's a joke at your expense, so you got to get some episodes out.
They probably already made some bets on the over-under mark.
Yeah, really. All right. Last call.
Hey, Mark and Dr. Mike. This is Tristan from Aliso Viejo again. And it's insane. Today is Preakness Day. I hit the superfecta in the Preakness for the second year in a row. Last year paid $749, and this year paid $303 for $1 superfecta. And the even crazier thing is I am 50% in this race. In the last 8 years, I've won the superfecta in the Preakness 4 times. And I don't handicap for I just go, those horses look good. I read a little bit, but I don't know anything about horses. When I go with my gut, and it seems to have paid off. But yeah, $303 today. Pretty cool. All right. Have a good day. Bye.
All right. Congratulations, Tristan. Yeah, we didn't talk about the Kentucky Derby or the Preakness on our show because, well, one of our episodes was delayed. And if we had mentioned it, we would have been talking about it right before the Derby went off, and the episode would have posted afterwards. So there really wasn't much point in us talking about it. And then, once it turned out that Sovereignty, who won the Kentucky Derby, wasn't going to run in the Preakness, it's like, okay, well, there's going to be no Triple Crown this year. And that's why we haven't mentioned it. But
right, it's not that exciting.
Yeah.
Well, one thing about hitting the superfecta is the Preakness has a lot fewer horses.
So it is a little easier to do, although the number 2 favorite, Journalism won the Preakness, and he was a favorite. But the number 2 favorite, Clever Again, came in dead last. Right. So obviously everybody's going to bet, the top 4 favorites in the superfecta. I shouldn't say obviously because you won't get much money. But of course, a lot of money's going to come in on that. But once you get one of the favorites out of that 4, that's when it becomes interesting. But you're right, fewer horses.
Fewer horses, which makes it a tad easier, but anything can happen. Look, here's a second favorite, 5-1 goes off at and ends up last place.
Yeah.
So, and horse racing's like that. It's not as volatile as dog racing, but it's volatile.
Boy, I'll tell you, those dogs, when they're coming out of the gate, that can be the race right there.
Yeah, because you get bumped, you're out.
Yep, and then they're just full bore going after that rabbit. For dog racing, and I'm not a fan of dog racing, but, they follow that fake rabbit around the track. The horses don't need anything, but if you were going to put something out there on the track that the horses had to go after, what do you think it'd be?
Oh, an apple.
Yeah, see, it seems like an apple, a carrot, big deal, right? And I understand that horses don't chase after things like dogs do, but I'm trying to make for good content here. What would be?
They don't eat meat either. They're vegetarians.
That's another thing too. But what would be good that they're following? I'm trying to think what they'd be attracted to. That
Paul.
Yeah, like a big fake Paul. I'm glad Paul's getting a lot of exposure on this show. It'd be like
how about just a big fake Paul on a stick?
On a stick, yeah. He looks like it's just kind of odd, but he's got his head out there with the that might be good. The horses, they might put on the brakes though if they saw Paul in front of them.
Or you could just put like a blow-up sexy horse on there or something. I don't know.
A blow-up sexy horse. I think you're probably...
Where do we buy that at? There. Party City, right?
That's right. Do you have a blow-up horse that's sexy? I see the blow-up horse that you got here for kids' parties and stuff, but...
Yeah, but we want one a little more sexy.
Yeah, we've got an experiment.
Oh, sir, that's that black door over there. Go through that door.
That's right. Anybody ever been through the black door at Party City? They're going out of business, so you'll never know now.
Yeah, call in if you've been.
All right, well, that's going to do it for this episode. We want to thank some people for some recurring donations. From Nathan, from the National Association of Casino Party Operators, from Brian Dancer, from Brian and Sarah, from Josh, from the boys at Crap Vegas, and from the International Brotherhood of Gobbling Donkeys. We also got a donation from listener Andrew. Hi, Mark and Dr. Mike. Karma donation for an upcoming birthday trip with my wife to Vegas, June 1st through the 3rd. Love the show. Hope to play craps with you someday. Andrew from Oregon. And he phonetically spelled out Oregon so that I would pronounce it correctly. Now, I lived in Oregon for a little while, so I know.
So Oregon?
Yeah, if you say Oregon, in Oregonian, it's like fingernails on a chalkboard, right? So it's like Gonzaga. I hear you say Gonzaga sometimes, Mike. It's not Gonzaga.
Yeah,
it's not the Zogs. It's Gonzaga.
Yeah.
So
it's the Zags. Yes, I know.
Anyway, thank you, Andrew. Hey, at the top of our webpage, you'll find a link to our store where you can buy You Can Bet On That merchandise at 50% off. Also, you can find a list of all the gambling-related shows coming up on American television at youcanbetonThat.com/TV-listings. And we've got a list of gambling-related movies at youcanbetonThat.com/movies. We'd love to hear from you. Call our voicemail hotline at 951-292-4377. That's 951-2-WAGERS.
9512-WAGERS.
Or you can email us at youcanbetonThat@gmail.com. We're also on Twitter at YouCanBetOnThat. And on Facebook at facebook.com/youcanbetonThat. What are you talking in the background there, Mike?
Oh, sorry. Lem was fixing our printer.
Oh, okay. Good excuse, I guess. Mike, before I hand it over to you, I want to talk inside baseball. Literally inside baseball, because this is baseball.
Yep.
And we talked about this recently because the Padres were in a similar situation. I don't know why managers don't do this automatically. Okay, if you've got a game that's in extra innings and it's during the regular season where they automatically put a runner on second, I think they call it the ghost runner, right? So because in the postseason, they don't do that, right? But it's the regular season. And the game is tied. It's still tied. And you're the visiting team. And the home team is coming to bat. So a lot of different things. Extra innings, man on second, game still tied. The home team is coming up to bat. So it's the bottom of the inning. If you're the visiting team, walk the first batter. Every time, walk the first batter. Because the extra base runner doesn't help the home team because they only need one run to win.
Yeah, if you haven't scored, they only need one run.
Yeah, that's why I say the game still has to be tied. If you're the visiting team and you've gone ahead in the top of the inning, this doesn't apply, but the game is still tied. But what it does is it puts the force play on for you. So now, you've suddenly got a force play at third. You're thinking, oh, well, what if their best hitter is coming up second in the inning? Well, it doesn't matter. He's going to bat anyway. Right? And maybe you end up actually walking the best hitter, right, as the first player. Now, there can be situations like, oh, well, Mark, what if the visiting team then inadvertently walks the next player? Now you've got bases loaded. Now, okay, fine. You can always come. What if the flop comes up 7-7 deuce? That's why you play 7 deuce every right. Anything could happen. But in this case, again, the runner that you're putting on first base doesn't matter because the home team only needs to score one run and you've put the force play on. I don't know why.
Right.
This rule has been in effect for a few years. It started during COVID. And we can't be the only ones who have thought of this. Right? So
no, I would do it for the simple fact that we didn't score. I don't want the situation where they hit a long fly ball and the guy ends up at third, tags up and goes to third, and the next guy hits a long fly ball and we lose. So they didn't do anything but hit 2 fly balls that were outs and they won the game. But if you walk them, you have the ability to turn a double play.
Right.
Which is huge. So I'm just thinking that just would be smart baseball.
Yeah, me too. You can come up with a lot of reasons that this strategy shouldn't be done, but they're not good enough in my eyes to override what we're saying, putting the force play on. All right. That's my gripe. That's also your gripe. Tell us about your finals and your chair story.
All right. Well, I got 3 actually. I'm going to tell you, I was talking to the girls the other day. We were in the car driving, and the girls were both on the phone with us, merged together so we could all hear each other.
Okay, so you and Lynn are driving home, and your daughters are on the phone.
They're in San Diego, and they actually both were driving home as well.
Okay, all right, go ahead.
School, but in different cars. Anyway, we're talking, and then they're talking about stuff they ordered on Amazon. And I'm driving and kind of haphazardly paying attention to them. Finally, I said, don't be wasting a lot of money on Amazon. If you don't need something, don't just buy it because it looks good or whatever. Buy stuff you need. I'm trying to give them the fatherly advice.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And then my daughter says, yeah, Dad, but we always go through You Can Bet on That when we buy stuff on Amazon.
Mm.
And that's when it dawned on me, forget this father stuff. Yeah, just buy whatever. I was okay with it.
That's right. Stethoscope, no problem.
Yeah. You don't need it, but okay. Dog toys and dog food, and sometimes they'll see a top they like, and they don't need, but they like it, so they buy it. So I guess if we're getting a little bit of that, I'm okay with it.
All right.
Funny how our attitudes change when money's involved.
Money.
Okay, so for finals. Usually, you come up with a big test that kind of encompasses the whole year, the major points. And this year I thought to myself, I said, most of these kids are not going to go into science.
Yeah.
And for a lot of them, like 10th graders, they're never going to have biology again.
Okay.
So why torture them with this big test that can change their grade drastically? So I gave them a worksheet. with a ton of questions like a week before. And they had to fill out this worksheet. And I just wanted to see who would get it done, who would fill it out good. And then yesterday was supposedly going to be the final. And they were all prepared and they came in and I said, okay. And I asked each person in the room a question about major concepts. And they said, well, hurry up, because we had to take the final. They were freaking out.
Yeah.
Because I was wasting time, We're going to have enough time? Oh, you'll have enough time. And then at the end, when I had asked the last person, I just said, okay, that was the final. Y'all passed.
Huh.
What do you think?
Well, I mean, good for you, Dr. Mike. I don't know if you broke any rules
I might
for the
have.
school district.
I might have. But you know what? So what? I told them, I said, giving a test like that, what does it tell me? It tells me you crammed the night before. I want to know that you remembered something.
Yeah, all right. Okay.
So I gave them this big list of stuff to fill out so they kind of jogs their memory.
Right.
Then I just ask them a few questions and then I can get a feel of, did they learn anything in this year?
Yeah, that's good, Mike.
And if they did, good effort deserves good rewards,
Yeah,
like
okay.
A's and stuff. So, and some people freak out. They don't take good tests.
Yeah, right.
There's all kinds of stuff. I know we want to measure things, but in this case, I just want to understand that most of them are going to be able to get through a few things in life. You need biology in your daily life.
I do like it. You might not be able to do it again because future classes might, you know what?
Right. Oh, he's not going to have a final.
Mr. Stefanita. Yeah, right. So you might want to warn next year's class that you're not going to do that so they don't expect it.
Well, I change things up all the time,
Okay.
Mark.
All right.
All my tests are all different formats and stuff. So, who knows what they're getting.
Yeah.
It's like designing card games, right?
Yes, it's like designing card
Now
games.
for the sad part of my week.
All right, go for it.
My chair that I use to watch games, sporting events, TV.
Right, like an Archie
sleep
Bunker
in,
chair, maybe, right,
an
where it's
Archie
something that you
Bunker
love.
chair.
Uh-huh.
I bought this 2 years ago.
Just 2 years ago, relatively new.
Relatively new, 2 years ago, because it was like a closeout thing at Menards, which is like this
Menards.
big store here.
Yeah.
It was only $200, marked down from like 400 and something.
Mm-hmm.
Now it had a massage feature in it.
Uh-huh.
All different kinds of, even massage your calves and stuff that are on the part that lifts up.
Yeah.
It was electric, so it went up and down.
Well,
You
yeah.
could adjust it to wherever you want.
Yeah.
It had a heater in it for the
Uh-huh.
winter, so the chair would be warm. I mean, it did everything except, let the dogs out.
Yeah.
That's about the only thing it didn't do. I had to get up to do that.
Yeah.
But I love that chair. Well, the other day I leaned back and it may have something to do with the increased mass of blob that the chair was under.
Uh-huh.
But I cracked the wood in the frame in the back. Cracked.
Yeah.
I heard this big crack. And then it wouldn't go up and down. The mechanism still worked, but the back part just kind of stayed stationary.
Yeah.
Everything else would go up.
Yeah.
I took it apart and it's unfixable. It cracked like in the middle of the wood.
Yeah.
And I've been in a funk ever since.
But that's your whole story. Your chair broke. I mean, there's a lot of buildup, and
Mark,
everybody's
this is
thinking, okay, it's going to be that the chair broke, but there's got to be more to it, right?
No, there is more to it. It's my life, Mark. I can't live without that chair.
All right.
So I'm glad it's Memorial Day weekend because I'm going to go out today and search for a chair.
All right. Good luck for you, Doctor.
Wish me luck.
Yeah. Good luck.
2 years, that chair
Yeah,
is my
that's
favorite chair. It's like losing a relative, Mark. It's like going to a craps table with no chairs to sit on now. I'm spoiled. I've been spoiled. The last time I was at the casino, by the way, just to add some casino talk, 2 old guys were discussing the chairs. Yeah, why doesn't every place have this? I go to so many places in Vegas, they don't have chairs. This is great. I love these stools. I'm kind of like, well, it's kind of like an old guy thing, okay? I noticed a lot of the young guys don't even grab them.
Yeah, because they're young.
I guess as craps has evolved into this old man game, kind of like Omaha, they adapted. The casinos adapted. They put out chairs. For us.
All right, Mike, do you have anything else insightful to pass along to the listeners?
Nothing insightful, just don't put too much emphasis on your kids to get great grades on tests. Put the emphasis on coming away with learning something they didn't know.
Okay, I'll leave that in. I think you phrased it well enough that people will get the point. And good luck with your children, everybody. Thank you for listening. We'll talk again in 2 weeks.
Goodbye.
This whole town's going to because the Chargers and the Clippers betrayed us.
Really? Now?
Seriously, broke our heart for what? To be second fiddle to the Rams and the Lakers?